Hey everybody, it's David here with Tax Growth Con, and I have one of our amazing guest speakers here today, Mr. Carlos Lopez, and he's here. He's a big influencer in the, I'd say Latino community, but I would say in the tax space in general. This gentleman has created an organization that serves thousands of people each year. He's going to share that with us, and his main mission is to really educate and make sure that the people out there, which is you and I, have the right tools, resources, and training to really go out and help the communities that we serve. This is important to the world because, we could have a great business model, but if we don't know what we're doing, that's probably not a good thing, right, Carlos?
That's right, man.
So, Carlos, tell us where you're from, first off.
I was born in Fresno, California, and I've lived in California almost my entire life. There was a few years, my dad moved us to El Paso, Texas, and we lived there for a few years. Huge influence on my life. We lived there with my maternal grandma, and that's basically where I learned a lot of what I know today. And
wow. So just to be clear, do you get a lot of hate today from people because you still live in California?
I don't, not so much hate. I'll give you a little story. We were in New York, and we went to a Central Park actually, and just to visit and see what it was like. You hear so much about it.
Yep.
And anyway, so I had to go to the restroom. So there was one that we found, and we got there and it was busy, of course. And some little boys came up from another state, and I asked them, where are you guys from? And they go, well, we're from, they told me where it was. They go, it took us 11 hours to drive here to get to this park. And they go, where are you from? And I said, well, I'm from California. And they go, you're from California? Well, how long did it take to drive here?
Oh my God.
And that was funny, but no, I don't get too much hate. What I mostly get is, how can you afford to live there?
Well, that's really what I was getting at. I think a lot of people today see California as a state that just is insanely huge when it comes to taxation. And what is it? The fifth largest economy in the world is California. So I would think that the guy who understands the tax code, I guess if you know it really well, I guess you probably don't pay as much taxes, but I would think that they'd be like, man, don't you get tired of paying the taxes? I mean, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, you get used to it. You become acclimated to paying it and dealing with it.
It's true.
And but we live 5 miles from the central coast of California. We have a cool ocean breeze that comes in almost every day.
Nice.
This is just a beautiful place to live. Everything around here is green, and it's my home. So.
Well, that's interesting. One of my favorite states is California because it is a beautiful state, scenery, everything. Well, that's good. So California. So tell us about your organization. What do you do?
Well, Latino Tax Pro was originally started to help represent Spanish-speaking tax pros who got in trouble with the IRS. And since we're enrolled agents, we're able to practice in all 50 states at all administrative levels of the IRS. So our first year was 2009. We attended the IRS National Forum, and we picked up about 50 members and got about 5 audits, representations out of that. And then I realized, whoa, this could be really big. So the next year I brought on another enrolled agent, and that was in 10. And then in 11 is when the IRS announced they were going to register tax preparers. You remember the old RTRP program?
Oh yeah, that was big.
That was big. So then we decided, well, let's change our focus. We'll still help represent Spanish-speaking tax preparers before the IRS, but let's expand into training and continuing education and make it bilingual. We were already doing that at our offices, Lopez Tax Service here in Central California. So we figured, well, let's change it to more of a national brand. And so we did. We switched it to that. And then, of course, Loving versus IRS came in, and in 2012, they disbanded the RTRP.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh man, we invested in this expensive website. We have an LMS, learning management system. You know, we got a CMS, client management. I go, oh man, we got a call center. I can't even tell you how many hundreds of thousands we had invested in this RTRP program. And I thought, oh. But the next year, 2013 came rolling around and we got so much business. People were telling me, you know what? We found out training works. I go, duh. We increased our number of clients, decreased my stress. You know, we opened up an extra office. And so I said, wow, we did the right thing. So we've been a training and tax school organization ever since.
Well, I'll tell you, you know, I met you and your organization a few years ago, and I was very impressed with the dedication to the education of tax professionals.
Thanks.
I think that if I look at the industry as a whole, I don't think there's so much a lack of education, because you can find that anywhere, but the quality is the difference. Like the attention to details and to really what's going on in the world, because I think that what makes you unique, Carlos, is that you still practice what you preach and you still have your own practice. So that means that you're in the trenches some days and you get to see what's really going on. And a lot of the other organizations that I've seen are really just training companies. And I think that's a challenge in itself. So I commend you for that, because that's really killer, man. Like what you guys are doing is killer. So how many members of this organization do you have today?
Total count it's close to 10,000 members, but actively we have about 2,800 that are active.
Wow. Well, that's still a large group of people. And
it is.
And obviously I know it's Latino Tax Pros, but I mean, is there other people, organizations, members of this because of just the knowledge and the education that you provide?
Oh yeah, there's several small organizations, mostly on the East Coast. There's a couple here on the West Coast and some in the Southwest that are members of our organization to get to understand what's the national feel of the organization. And that's what we try to do, is just get the national feel for what's going on, not regional. Although regional is important as well, it's the national feel.
So a tax professional who's maybe not Latino could join, and what would be the benefits for that? Just to be clear, like if they join the organization, what would they get from that?
Well, as you may know, and a lot of people know, the Spanish speaking taxpayer and tax pro is the emerging market. That's what's growing these days, nothing else. So if you want to get into that market, and I hear this all the time, how do I get to that ever elusive Spanish speaking taxpayer client without having to learn Spanish? I go, well, that's your first problem.
Yeah.
Learn some Spanish. But the second thing is we developed our bilingual program so you don't have to speak Spanish. When you open up the book, you know, let's say page 100 is in Spanish, page 101 is in English.
Got it.
We translated the whole thing so that you can teach in English and have the student look at the Spanish part and get used to it.
Would you recommend that somebody join? Just curious now, because would you recommend them to join so that they can understand the Hispanic market better?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you want to be in this market like any other market, you got to understand your client, got to understand your customer.
Well, that's interesting, because I don't think that's something most people think about. I don't, you know, when I think about like, how do I get new customers? We just think about traditional marketing tactics, but I mean, really getting where the people assemble and understanding it, I think they could network at a high level with your organization. I think if somebody was coming to Tax Growth Con thinking about, you know, why would I listen to Carlos? I'd say, well, because the guy knows about Hispanic marketing. He understands the Hispanic market, the emerging market of the country. I mean, national brands, I mean, are you know, breaking their heads trying to find out how to get to Hispanic markets. Exactly.
And that's what made us attractive, or still makes us attractive to a lot of these very large national companies, is everybody wants to get into the Spanish market. And here you've got this organization that has been very successful at it and is also in the English speaking market.
There you go. Well, that's
so we
awesome.
Did it backwards.
You did it right, man. That's for sure. So what would we want to share at Tax Growth Con together? We're going to do an interview together. So what are you feeling like you want to share with the audience?
Well, first of all, we'd like to share your story. I mean, you started off with a franchise and then grew it up into a group of franchises. And now you've got your Tax Growth Con. I mean, you're right there with us, David.
I'm trying my best, man. I'm trying to keep up, man.
So
with the
I would say,
Lopez's.
yeah, what do we do together to make ourselves more attractive to other tax professionals? And a couple of things that I learned when I went to grad school was, first of all, let's help each other. And that's what we're doing. You and I are helping each other right here. We're helping all the people that are going to Tax Growth Con. So first of all, let's help each other, and then let's help each other make money.
That's right.
I mean, let's face it, isn't that what it's all about?
That is right.
Let's help each other first.
So would it be fair to say that you're going to share with us how we can all as a group kind of network better and build relationships that are powerful like you've done?
Yes, absolutely.
That is the most powerful thing. And in fact, I talk about that quite often. And I know you have a huge event coming up, and I tell people all the time, when you go to, a lot of people hesitate on going to events. I don't know what it is. I mean, obviously through a pandemic, that was different, but people don't understand that network proximity kind of aspect of an event. And I think you've really gotten that, right? Because you do events every year. For how many years have you been doing this?
This will be our 9th year.
Wow. And what do you think is the biggest takeaway when you talk to everybody who attends? What do they say they get the most out of?
Well, we have a unique approach to our training that other organizations don't do. And I don't know if you remember or not, but in grade school, when we had our classes, we didn't go from room to room. We stayed in the same room, usually had the same teacher, or the teachers would change, not the students. So our approach is we have one big room that's in English, another big room that's in Spanish.
Nice.
And we teach high-level tax law, training, updates, ethics. And so when you sit in there, you have it all just brought to you.
There you go.
Instead of trying to go room to room, trying to figure out, well, is this going to be 2 hours of ethics? Is this law? Is it? No, we will spoon feed it to you.
Now, when people leave there, are they just saying they got a lot of education, or you think it's the network that they're bragging about?
Oh, it's the networking. So we save 2 hours in the middle of the day to network, go to the exhibit hall, visit exhibitors. 66% of people go to an event for training, 64% go for the latest software updates. And what makes us unique, David, is Tuesday night, we have a mariachi concert right there in the exhibit hall. We get a big 9-piece mariachi group, and they're up there for an hour and a half playing all the latest mariachi songs. I know it sounds hard to believe, but there are new mariachi songs that come out, and then they play oldies and goodies. And then the big coup de grace is on Wednesday. We have the pool party.
There you go.
We reserve the 2 largest pools at the MGM Grand, and we get a salsa band out there playing for a couple hours.
Wow, well, this is so cool. By the way, you need to stop talking because my peeps are like, man, we need to go to that too. And I want them to come to Tax Growth Con first. We're not having a pool party just yet, but I am going to be a speaker at your event. I'm excited to be there. And excited to hear your story. So at Tax Growth Con, we're going to share your story, how you connect with people, and I'm going to interview, and the audience gets to ask those questions as well, any questions they may have. So I'm really excited to have you, Carlos, and I'm very thankful that you chose to work with us.
Thank you, David. I'm excited too. I'm so glad that you invited us to be there. I remember several years ago, we asked you to do a testimonial for us, and you graciously did it. And, people go, oh man, he's talking about Latino Tax Pro. Who are they? And, you already established. So that was great, man. So, we're helping each other. And that's what really it's all about.
I appreciate that. Well, everyone who's watching today, please, if you haven't already gotten your tickets to taxgrowthcon.com, go grab them, taxgrowthcon.com, so you can come by and see Carlos and some of our other speakers who are just amazing people like Carlos, who are taking on the world, who have had big dreams and aspirations, started with one little tax office, thought of big ideas, how he wanted to change the industry, and look at him today doing it. And he's going to share that story in hopes that maybe that's your story. That's your next idea. That's your next push. And so Carlos is directly, I mean, really living and embodying what success looks like today for many tax professionals. Thanks. And we're very excited to have him. So if you haven't gotten your tickets, grab them. Anyone last words, Carlos?
I just want to say, you know, this is the time for all of us. You know, if we're in this emerging market, taxes aren't going anywhere. They're here to stay. And you don't want to stay doing just the simple, they used to call them the short forms. You don't want to stay in that market. You want to move up and start doing the more complex returns, business returns, corps, partnerships. And you want to move up and you want to make this a career, not just a part-time gig, because then you'll never be happy with it.
That's right. You know, the financial services industry, which taxes falls into, is the largest and #1 industry to be in today.
It is.
So anybody who would say there's another industry that's better, I mean, there's obviously a lot of industries to be in there, but I think financial services is where you should dig deep and really work at a high level. And working with your organization is definitely key. So
thanks,
guys. Taxgrowthcon.com. You can get your tickets there, May 17th through the 19th, Dallas, Texas. Please, if you have any questions or need anything, please comment or let us know. We were willing to help you. Carlos will be there. Carlos, thank you again so much, my friend.
Thanks, David. Thanks for inviting us. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you guys for watching, and have a fantastic